If you had to write down your exact address in the universe, what would you put on the envelope? We know our street, our own city, and our country, but finding our absolute position in space and time requires looking past our immediate horizon. We can start with a specific pin on the map. At a latitude of 12.97 north and a longitude of 77.56 east sits Bangalore. Today, it is a tech hub, but its coordinates mark a high-altitude plateau in the heart of South India. Zooming out, the city sits within India, a nation covering 3.28 million square kilometers. It is a mosaic of 1.43 billion people and over 2,000 spoken languages, making it one of the most diverse territories on the planet. But the planet itself is small compared to its surroundings. This diagram shows the scale of our local star. You could fit 1.3 million Earths inside the volume of the Sun. In fact, the Sun accounts for 99.86% of the total mass in our solar system. We orbit that mass at a distance of about 150 million kilometers, a journey that takes light roughly 8.3 minutes to complete. Astronomers call this 1 astronomical unit. This specific orbit places us in the Goldilocks zone, where temperatures are exactly right for liquid water to remain on the surface. Earth exists as a narrow oasis, sustained entirely by its specific distance from a massive, roaring sphere of plasma. Past the outer planets and the icy debris of the Oort cloud, we find the Milky Way. Our solar system is located about halfway along the Orion Arm, situated in a relatively quiet, low-density neighborhood called the local bubble. The entire galaxy rotates around a violent center. We are moving at 250 kilometers per second around Sagittarius A star, the supermassive black hole at the heart of the Milky Way. Zooming out to the local group, we see about 50 neighboring galaxies. Here, gravity is the dominant force, locking us into a slow-motion collision course with our largest neighbor, the Andromeda Galaxy. But at the scale of superclusters like Laniakea, which contains 100,000 galaxies, the rules change. Over these immense distances, the expansion of space overcomes gravity, actively pushing these massive galaxy groups apart forever. This diagram illustrates our absolute spatial limit. Expanding outward from Earth, we reach the edge of the observable universe, a bubble with a radius of 46 billion light-years. Because of the speed of light and the expansion of space, we cannot see or interact with anything beyond this point. We are a microscopic data point in an expanding void. Faced with these numbers, we have to ask if our presence here is a unique event or a simple statistical inevitability. Space is only half the coordinate. To understand our position, we have to look at the timeline and find out when we are. Scrubbing the clock back from Bangalore's modern tech boom, we pass through Indian independence in 1947, the colonial era, and the city's founding in 1537. The first mention of the name Bengaluru appears in records from 890 CE. Further back, we find the origins of urban life in the region with the Indus Valley Civilization, which dates to roughly 3300 BCE. The human story began roughly 300,000 years ago. That scale feels massive to us, but it is a small fraction of the Earth's total age, which is 4.54 billion years. While our history is dense and complex, on a cosmic scale, the entire human experience occupies a barely perceptible moment. Looking forward, the clock is already ticking on Earth's habitability. In 500 to 600 million years, the sun's increasing temperature will stop photosynthesis, ending the food chain that sustains us. In 5 billion years, the sun will exhaust its fuel and swell into a red giant, physically engulfing the inner planets, including our Earth. The galaxy itself is an ancient survivor. The Milky Way formed 13.6 billion years ago, gathering primordial gas and dark matter shortly after the Big Bang. But its current shape will not last. In about 5 billion years, we will collide with Andromeda, tearing our spiral arms apart as we merge into a massive galaxy called Milkomeda. Eventually, all nearby galaxies will merge into one isolated island. Because the rest of the universe is expanding away, this new megagalaxy will be permanently cut off from every other light in the sky. We happen to live in a highly specific window, one where we can still see our neighbors and enjoy a stable, warm star. If the stars and galaxies have an end, what happens to the universe itself? One theory is the Big Crunch, cramming all matter into a single point. The Big Rip suggests rapid expansion, tearing apart galaxies and atoms. Ultimately, most data points toward the Big Freeze. The universe expands until stars burn out and drop to absolute zero. After 10 to the power of 106 years, even black holes evaporate through Hawking radiation. At that point, the timeline effectively ends in a cold, empty void. The universe's default state is cold, dark, and uninhabitable. The conditions required for life are the extreme exception. We are surrounded by a reality that is unimaginably vast and, for the most part, completely dead. Every piece of art we've made and every person we've loved exists within this tiny, temporary window of habitability. We occupy a single point on a timeline that stretches towards billions of years of silence. We are witnesses to the only part of the story with anything to say. This makes our presence the most significant thing in the void.